Alright, hey guys, this is Bezmor, and I decided to upload a TW video. The reason being that, I don't know, like over the past couple of weeks, there's been a ton of people posting like comments on random videos, and they're like, post more videos. And I was like, I've been too busy to even play this game. I mean, honestly, I had a TW last weekend, and I went because people were PMing me, and they're like, hey, we're getting ganked by a ton of people, so can you come to TW? So I was like, okay. So this is like the first time I logged on in a couple weeks, I feel like. But anyways, I showed up to TW, and it turned out we had a 2-hour fight in the afternoon, and then 3 factions ganked us in the evening, and we just no-showed one and defended the other 2. So it was actually pretty cool. And this is from the afternoon where we were on the offense, and I recorded bits and pieces of it because like I turn my recorder off and then I forget to turn it back on, so I just have a bunch of random clips here, and I cut out a whole bunch of boring stuff that I thought you guys wouldn't care at all about, but I figured there was some cool stuff happening in some of the stuff that I did get, so I figured I'd post it and do some commentary, because maybe you people stop trolling me on my own channels or comments or whatever. But anyways, so this TW, a few things to note. We had like, I want to say 60 people maybe. That was like after a while. Like we got more as the TW progressed. And the other side had a little bit more, not much more, but a little bit more than us. But the difference is that this faction we're playing against has like maybe 5 people in the entire faction who are just like absolutely maxed geared. Like, you know, they've got fully plus 12, all Jades or deities, and then, you know, like a ton of S cards, you know, so like maxed gear. They've got like 5 players that have it, and then they've got like 40 players. Okay, maybe not 40, but they've got a good number of players who are like one-shots. So it's a really awkward thing to play against because they had a numbers advantage over us, but really there was only like one one small threat. And the thing was, the breast geared people tended to move together, so you know, it's really awkward to play against it. And our faction was so out of practice because we hadn't had a real TW in so long that like the first hour of the TW was absolute trash. Like nobody was calling where the catapults were, so it was pretty difficult. But all that aside, still some very cool things happened, and I'm gonna point out things about what our squad did well and what other enemies did badly. And one thing that I did badly right there is die. Don't do that. But more importantly is, you'll notice a lot of times the enemy faction grouped up a lot, and we just got crazy AoEs, and so our squad would be screaming, you know, just AoE, AoE, or I'm gonna go and stun this entire group, just blow them up. And positioning in territory wars, you should have this feeling like if you see a ton of people around you, or you're standing in a cluster and it's not inside the enemy base, you're probably standing in a bad spot. Like you shouldn't see a bunch of people. Like right now you see there's frontline people up in front of me, there's like multiple BMs in front of me, and I'm up here like in my own little space at the back just cutting down everything I possibly can, and then following up on my Blade Master's assist. So he says AoE, and I just went over there and started nuking stuff. And you know, everyone's you know, trying to follow the priority targets, but like right now, as you can see, there's a few more people near me, and so you should just always be aware of how many people in my faction are near me should I be standing here, because there's one point in the TW where I was like, you know, I'm probably standing in a really bad spot, and then like 2 seconds later the group I was in just got blown up by some crazy AoEs. So anyways, especially, I mean, this is all class by class basis, you have to know, but as a psychic, generally, like if you're an average gear psychic, like if you're a completely maxed out geared psychic, like the other faction we're against right now has 2 fully plus 12 Jade Deity psychics, and you know, if you're that maxed, you can play a little bit more stupidly, because obviously half the people attacking you are gonna get sealed, and the other half you can one-shot. So I mean, there's exceptions, but for the average player, if you're a DD, you always want to be aware of things, because I died, I think, probably 10 times in this TW to just a random AoE that happened to catch me. Seeker AoEs, when they get Goth crits, because I mean, Seeker crit rate is through the roof, because their weapon can have 8%, and then if they get a Goth on a magic hit, like, you just get completely blown away for some reason or another. I think I died most to Seekers and Psychics in this TW. So you standing with other people can easily get you killed by accident, and so you definitely want to be very aware of that. Now at this point, we had just come from right path, and so we were fighting on the right hill, despite the fact that our squad is generally a left hill control. But I've noticed that a lot of factions tend to favor the right hand hill when they're I don't know why. They just always go to the right first. So since we were coming from right and there's nobody on the left hill, we were here just helping clean out, and we were trying to get the catapults, and we noticed that the clerics were being annoying, so we gave up on the cats to kill the clerics. But this is again another thing that's very situational, and it shows the experienced players. Sometimes I will just continually nuke a catabarb because I know I have a good chance of killing them despite the fact that they're clerics alive, but more importantly, I'm doing it because I trust that the sin in my squad, or the two sins in this case, and later we grab an archer, I trust them to be making those clerics run or die or something that'll prevent them from healing. And so if you know that you have support that's dealing with the clerics as a psychic, your damage against a full arcane cleric is really not that impressive. I mean, you know, obviously that's gear dependent, but bottom line, you can hit a barb way harder than you can hit a cleric because their magic defense is not as high. So in general, there are situations where I say, if I know somebody's taking care of the clerics and they can do it without my help, I'm going to focus on getting these barbs set up and killed as quickly as possible. And that's just basically, you have to learn, you know, when can I just go for it and when can I not. And some of the things you have to look for, well, where are they positionally? Because when catapults are pushing up the lane, sometimes they'll get way ahead of their clerics, sometimes their clerics will get way too far up. You know, there's all kinds of different reasons, and sometimes it's like, oh look, this cleric's out of position, nuke her. So right here, as you can see, I just got stunned and there was like 5 other people around me. So kind of running that way was a bad idea, but I didn't have a choice because it was either run into the tower or try to run around the tower. And so I think I was kind of in the process of trying to get around, and then I got caught with the crowd. And so when this happens, if you're at a tower like this, you either want to create a fan, a gigantic fan, so that like if everybody's in like 2 big groups, then they just have to stun blast 2 groups and AoE, and it's going to be bad. So you want to fan out as much as possible, or the optimal strategy for taking towers like this is everybody you have, with the exception of your clerics and your catabarbs, goes all the way around the towers and begins fighting on the far side. Like if you see where that cleric is with the purple wings, sorry, way over there, that's where you want to be. If you can get everybody in front of those towers, then there's this huge fight happening in front of the towers. Your catabarbs have 0 pressure, and your clerics have 0 pressure, and you'll get free damage with no cooldowns being burned. So that's kind of the ideal situation. And here I was kind of like, I think we maybe should go back to the left side, but then I got to the left side and there was nobody there. So I was just like, alright, I'm gonna help deal with the catapults and barb, because our squad is supposed to be handling side lane catapults, and then we do B lane control when we're not dealing with catapults. But when there's catapults on B, obviously we help, you know, we immediately target clerics and barbs. So here I'm working with, I think, the BM. Yeah. We were just trying to kill the catapult because at this point we couldn't fight. We didn't have the numbers or enough people who had the realization that we should be fighting on the front side of the towers, so we were kind of just half-assing it behind the towers. And then we're also trying to deal with their catapults who are running through ours, and it's a big mess because this is TW and chaos is basically what it is. So anyways, at this point, again, you can see us just nuking stuff left and right, and we get the catapult, and now you can see that right-hand hill and the front side of the tower is just flooded with enemy people. And the problem with the ideal strategy of fighting on the far side is when they push back hard enough, you either get pinched or you have to run way ahead of time. So if you're going to do this strategy, and I think there might be a point later in this video where I'll show you about that, how it works, you have to be really aware of what's going on around you so you don't get caught. But anyways, here this is, oh, okay, this is another big thing. I hear so many people QQ about psychics. They're like, psychics are stupid, man. You attack them and you get sealed. Alright, if you don't have will surge on your genie, you don't get the right to complain. Like, if you have will surge on your genie, psychics become less of an issue because there's 2 situations that occur. Low soul force psychics that you think you can kill quickly, what you do is you just will surge straight off the bat and you start nuking them in black, right? Because they're gonna die, and your will surge is gonna prevent them from getting a lucky, you know, 10% chance of proccing or whatever, you know, however low their seal rate is, right? And you just nuke them and you kill them. And then, oh look, the psychic was no problem. Will surge lasts for, I don't know, like 8 seconds. And it's usually enough time to kill somebody you know you can kill, especially if you're working with a bunch of people in your squad, right? So mid to low tier psychics with gear, just will surge and nuke them. If, on the other hand, you're playing against full +12 psychics, yes, the seal is stupid. Now, if you have enough people just targeting them, it doesn't really matter if you get sealed, because you'll get sealed, but the other guy might not. And the fact that you just, 6 people hit him at once, it doesn't really matter. If 6 people all get sealed, then 6 times, each person hitting them for 5k, that's 30k. They're dead anyways. But if you're in a situation where you don't have an army just wrecking, right, you have to tactically use your will surge. So what you do is you hit them a couple times, see what their cooldowns are like. You need to know if they have APOF, AD, belief, whatever you want to call it. And then what you do is, when you think you have a good chance of killing, or if you're going to go for a high damage combo, like use your 2 AoEs and Crystal Light and Sandball Clash or something, then you use Will Surge at that moment so that your hardest hitting spells will get through, trying to guarantee the kill. And I mean, I never have problems with Psychics. I always have Will Surge on my Genie, and I don't know. I hear so many people raging, though, about Psychics being stupid with their seal, and it's really like, it's a Genie skill that only costs like 80 energy or something. It's really cheap, really easy to use, and it's a fairly low cooldown, in all honesty. And the other thing is, when you're going in to do AoE follow-ups, it's sometimes really good just to pop your Will Surge so that you don't accidentally hit a Psychic in the middle of your AoE, because you might not be targeting a Psychic, but you might AoE one and get sealed. So that's another reason. I think Will Surge should be on every Genie, hands down, no questions asked. But that's a personal opinion, but in my experience, I've never regretted having Will Surge on my Genie. So at this point, now that we've taken down both the mid lane towers, it's kind of an all-out brawl, because both sides are just trying to, push. And as you can see, there's like 5 catapults on my camera right now, and ours are back here, and theirs are over there. And this is just a matter of who can push better. And the problem with our faction at this point is the numbers disadvantage makes a flat-out push a little bit more difficult. Even though there's a lot of people that are squishy, the fact that they stand in front of the hard-hitting, tankier targets makes it annoying. But anyway, so I think I just cut to a different part there because it got really boring, or we probably got called to another lane, but I didn't show that because it was also boring. So here we are coming back to mid lane, trying to defend our towers, and you see here I've got enemy faction people on both sides of me, in front, behind, but I'm okay with that because there's a tower right next to me. My squad's BM is behind me, so when I was looking backwards, I was like, I don't have to worry that there's more behind me. Like, I got a BM that's tanking for me. And then I was like, you know what, those people back there, whatever, I'm gonna turn and help my BM. And so, this is an important thing. You have to be working with your squad and just doing as much as possible to assist. And here I AD'd because I wasn't sure who was hitting me exactly. I have my damage log up, but sometimes you're just like too panicked to check it or whatever. So I burned my AD, and there's some situations where that's just what you gotta do. And a 3-minute cooldown is better than a 30-second seal and having to fly all the way back up to the fight and getting rebuffed and getting more chi and all that. So, preemptive is usually a better choice. So at this point, by thinning out these back lines instead of going all the way back, because we knew our faction was back there fighting, right? But by thinning out these people back here, it's like, hey, look, we can make sure that there's nobody coming to help reinforce the people in the front. So this is where we want to be, just doing as much as possible. And here you can see I went for the Will Surge because I noticed that he had like no buffs, and I was like, well, this is a chance that despite him being full +12, we can probably get the kill. So immediately drop the Will Surge. As you can see, 0 seals despite full +12 psychic. Easy mode, don't know. Anyways, and this is another thing that you may have noticed at the very beginning of the video. I have like 85 Vite and 100 Magic. 100 Magic is for recharge, but 85 Vite is really important because it gives you the ability to do multiple things at once. So I Will Surged, and then I immediately fortified, and I had no energy issues. I think at the very beginning of this video, if you look back on it, there's a part where I AD into an IG, and then I also fortify like a few seconds later in order to attack a psychic who has Soul of Stunning on. And the fact that I can AD and fortify, almost back to back, not quite, obviously there's like a couple seconds of recharge, but you want to be able to do as much as possible, and always having those low energy skills. Like, okay, fortify is like 55 energy at level 1, so having a lot of it allows you to do your heavy energy cost Genie skills and still be able to have those low ones. And then Will Surge, Nullify Poison, all the immunity ones are like 80 energy. So that's why I like high Vit on my Genie, is just so that I can do my big stuff and still have backups. I can Holy Path, within 15 seconds of using AD, which is really convenient. Anyways, here we're defending a push on mid lane. And at this point, I told my Vino in invent, I was like, do you have purge? And she said in the chat yes, and I said okay, purge now, and she purged, and as a result we just wrecked the one catapult that we were on. And the Vino Psychic combo is one of my favorites because psychics are kind of against fully buffed targets, but when you just have somebody to purge for you, oh, psychics become godlike because you've got that extra 20 plus attack levels from Black Voodoo and a fairly high base magic attack, and you just kind of start to wreck because your channeling is so fast compared to the wizards, who it's like if they hit you at the right moment with the right skill, it's gonna hurt like a truck, but if they're just gushing, it's like eh. So yeah, Vino Psy combo is great and it's so effective. So you should always work with your Vinos, ask them for their purge cooldowns or who they're gonna purge, or tell them I need this target purged. Be good at communicating because it's awesome and it makes catabarbs die. So here, this is again, Diminished Vigor is like the most OP skill ever. I love that skill. Use it on every target I get a chance. But the one thing you have to be very careful of with the both vigors, both empowered and diminished, is that it's a 90-second shared cooldown. So if you know that there's going to be an enemy push coming and you have you have the foresight to say, okay, I'm going to need to DV one of their catabarbs, or they have that full plus 12 guy I want to be able to kill, I'm going to need my diminished vigor. Don't use empowered vigor on your Blade Master and let him go ham, because I did that at one point in this TW, and then a catapush came and I didn't have my diminished vigor up because of that stupid shared cooldown thing. And the other thing is, when you're using your diminished vigor, look for the invoke, is one thing I do sometimes, because the idea is you want to not waste it. On a 90-second cooldown, if they cast AD or IG, you're not gonna, your DV's gone, you cast it into nothingness and they blocked it. So when they're invoked, they're usually not using AD or IG, so it's generally a safe time to get a diminished vigor on them. Otherwise, when they're first trying to run up, as long as they're not doing one of those things where they blow all their cooldowns just to run through like 20 people, then just get it on there, and the sooner the better, obviously, because of how long the cooldown is. Excuse me. So anyways, we've cleared most of their cats, and we're back to this B lane, mid lane brawl, which is pretty straightforward. There's not much explaining I can do, except you see me holy pathing a fair amount in these last little bits here, and that's because when you take an advantage, holy path is how to push yourself over the advantage. Psychics are inherently a very slow class unless we're flying with our buff, then we're the fastest class in the game. But if you want to push an advantage, people tend to filter out slowly, like 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 when they're coming out of their base. Very few times do you have an entire squad wipe, fully rebuff in the base, and then come out as a squad, except like right after they may be cleared, your factions push into their base, then they all group up, and because they have a breather. So when they're doing this filtering thing, right, the way to push an advantage is, look, my BM just did it. He holy paths forward and he says, no, we are not giving you any room to breathe, and we just cut down one person after the other as they're filtering out. And so here again, I'm moving really far forward because it's just like, I want to kill as many of these people. You see these 3 people are all spread out, and it's like, I want to catch them when they're not here. And as you can see in the far distance, there's going to be a lot of people coming. So I need to be aware of that. But we got our katas to the B lane with our presence being OP, and then they're like, oh, they're trying to send katas down left. So then our squad's like, alright, we'll go deal with the catapults. So here I'm rebuffing because without psychic buffs, you're kind of like a useless class. That's not entirely true, but yeah. Don't cast your psi buffs is like asking to die. It's just stupid. So anyways, I think at this point, alright, this is another great thing. When their katas are going down a side lane and they're not correctly grouped, like when you do a proper strong push, right, you want to have DDs in the front, like front line with BMs and HAs and stuff, then you want DDs, then you want your catapults and clerics in that order, and you just want to move it up together. But when they're trying to rush these side lanes, a lot of people will split up, and you can totally abuse that by flanking. So we came over and I said to my BM, yo, we got 2 clerics here, the barbs have gone on without them, let's cut them down. And so we come in and nuke them, and our Sin went back to base and comes out from our base, and he just starts CCing the crap out of the catapults so that they're stuck we've got the support handled on one end, they can't move forward on the other, and since they sent this with no DDs, it was basically a cleanup job for us, which is really straightforward. So again, targeting the clerics because we don't want them doing stupid reses after we put this effort into killing the barbs. And then, you know, at this point, like I said, it's a cleanup job. And so sometimes when this kind of stuff happens, we'll only send like 3 people from our squad and we'll just be like, yeah, go kill them. We're going to stay on B lane and help the push get forward. Because obviously the more people you have with your catapults, the better of a front line there is for them. And so here, I didn't use the diminished vigor very early, but I thought they were just going to run, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to nuke this archer because archers are dumb. I hate archers. And then we're like, okay, now we can finally kill the barb. Yay! And I believe what happened was after we wiped, like we basically caught 2 catapults and like 3 or 4 clerics and an archer way out of position. We flanked them, we just cut them apart and got it free. And then here comes another squad, but only 4 people. Again, like 1 archer, a cleric, a barb. And like we're just like, okay, if you want to feed us more free kills, you know, like if you have a squad on a side path and it gets wiped, why would you send another unprepared squad right to the same place where we probably still are? You know, like their catapult, we had just killed them like 15 seconds ago, so they knew we're there, but they just walk up and get wrecked. And this is not something you want to do in a strategy. If they pulled us to the left-hand path, they should try the opposite side, you know, like try pushing our right side or something, or barrel down mid with everything you have. But I don't know how their calling is working, and that's not as important. But anyways, we decided to stay on this left because we went back to B. We got halfway back to the mid lane, and then they're like, wait, stay on left, because I don't know what the hell was going on. But anyways, we're like, alright, we'll just make the push happen on left, because, I mean, we can push on mid, or we can push on left where we're already here, and we already had cats coming. So here, we're way ahead of the cats. Like, they're behind us, like a mile, or a kilometer, depending on which system you prefer. But we're just up here fighting, so these people that are here now would probably be nuking our catapults, but instead they're fighting us. And what's happening? They're getting trashed. That's right, because I mean they're fighting way away from their tower. Like they've got 2 perfectly full HP towers, and here our cats are showing up, and all the people that they were here to defend the towers just got wrecked. And so this is the part where I told the squad, I said, get on the front side. Our barbs are here, there's nobody at the towers really. Get on the front side. So again, using my holy path to try and capitalize on an advantage as quickly as possible. And me and the wizard, we just show up and we're like, what are you doing, son? And he dies. And as you can see, some of us in the squad are a little bit, they don't believe in going in front of the towers, they believe in going under the towers. And you know, if you're tanky as hell, why not? But you know, whatever works. The idea is, our barbs, we want the least pressure possible. So as you can see, there's a cleric iron-hearting the barb back there, and we're just in front making sure that he has 0 pressure on him, which means if both towers were to die, he could then advance on the gate towers with full chi, with invoke up, with IG up, with AD up, you know, everything he needs. And so here they're doing that filtering thing. And so again, moving up to try and take advantage of it. But I knew whenever we pushed cats to a certain distance with our squad, they always sent their best geared people to where we were. And since I didn't see them yet, I was like, guys, we need to capitalize as much as possible right now before those people get here. And so again, we're just charging up and trying to cut down as many people as we can. And again, this whole time we're up here fighting, it looks like we're just fighting kind of pointlessly because there's nothing happening B lane, there's nothing happening at the gate here, but you have to remember there's catapults with 0 pressure on them behind us. And at this point, this is where their full squad came out, so that psychic there on the left is one of the full +12 ones. So, you know, we're like, alright, well, he's alone, this is good for us. As you can see, I immediately DV and then begin attacking. And here, I probably should have will surged. And I really should have, because he got purged and DV'd. So I don't know what I was thinking. I really should have. But anyways, what you're about to see is I see my BM die, and I'm going to myself, okay, this is a little bit bad, because he's our main front line, right? And our Sin, I believe, already died as well, and it looks like we lost our Archer. So at this point, in my mind, this is that awareness I was talking about. I was like, alright guys, we need to start pulling back, because we've done our job of trying to buy our catapult time, but we're losing control here. We don't have enough front line left, you know, we don't have a good positioning. So as you can see, I was already starting to run back, and the problem is, when you're in this position of being in front, if you don't have reinforcements coming, you need to get behind the towers as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to get pinched in them. And so I told my squad, I was like, guys, pull out, do not get caught between the towers and their base. And so now what we're able to do is do the traditional defense of getting right up next to our barbs, and we did get the left tower, which was great. So now it's, we try to defend the barbs from right behind them. And obviously I would like to be up there in front and just tank for him, but without anybody else up there, since our BM died, there's no front line. I'm not tanky enough to stand up there. Like, I'm really squishy. So I'm standing behind him trying to cut down as many people, just get these BMs and Seekers off of him so he's not getting HF'd, hopefully, and, doing whatever is possible. But I mean, it's pretty much a lost cause because this push was done with basically that one catapult, maybe one cleric, and then our squad. There was no reinforcements, no help. But we just pretty much got a tower for free while we sat in front. And at this point, our BM comes in, and I thought I was screwed. And then the BM gets screwed instead because I ran away. So troll. But at this point, it's kind of like, okay guys, this push has done its job. We took a structure. And here, I made the mistake of turning around to save my cleric, and in retrospect, saving the cleric means worth, but I still died for it, so you can debate it. And I would have gotten away here if I had maybe 400 magic on my genie, but as you can see, I was like I was 10 energy short of holy pathing here, and I was just trying to get out of range. So yeah, you gotta know when a push is dead and to abandon it, otherwise they get the advantage. But the nice thing is they didn't really push the advantage there. They didn't have any catapults with them. They were just pushing. So that's the end of what I have recorded. I hope you guys learned some things. Hope you enjoy the video. And yeah, I don't know if I'll have more, but we'll see.